Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Dynamics Fortnite Fridays.
Hey Bart, how's your Friday going?
Fridays are always a good thing. Gotta love Fridays.
Agreed,
But
agreed.
we've had a nice few days here in Minnesota in a row, and today's going to be another duplicate of those. So we're kind of enjoying pre-fall fall.
That must be nice. Must be
Yeah.
nice. Can't
You're
say the
still in
same
the
in
heat dome,
Houston.
aren't you?
Oh yeah, for a while.
Uh, yeah. Bummer.
Yep.
Well, what do you have for a dad joke for me?
All right, so when does a dad joke or when does a joke become a dad joke?
I'm sure it'll be good, but I don't have it. Tip of my tongue.
When it becomes apparent.
When it becomes apparent, there it is. It's so apparent. Love it.
What
Uh,
do you got for me?
so why was the ice cream truck sitting on the side of the road?
Hmm. Because it was a rocky road?
Oh, look at
Did I get it?
you. You got it. Way to go. Nicely done.
I know
Um,
my ice cream. I know my ice cream.
Rocky Road's a good one, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get into something a little more appropriate.
All right.
So, Power Platform Realm is where we always kick things off. What I'm going to start with, and I've got a few of these scattered throughout my notes, is a few more or less open source types uh, assets that I think people will love. So this first one is called Skill Recorder. And so if you use Skill Recorder, it helps you build skills just by recording what you do in the real world so that you can give that to agents so they can perform similar type tasks. So if it's going to help you in making a skill, this is going to make your agent smarter or more talented, more capable, record it. Next one. This is probably super old news by now because it's been a month since we had the last show. But while I was on vacation, Microsoft launched a whole new harness for Copilot Studio called the GitHub Copilot harness. And it's more capable, more powerful than what we have had available in Copilot Studio in the past. You can see on all these blue bars in the charts that it was doing better for the same task than the standard harness was in terms of capability. It comes with a price tag. So if you're willing to pay a little extra for that GitHub Copilot harness that does have the multi-step agentic reasoning and a few other things that just make it really good for the complex tasks, use it. It's there. If you have something that's working now, no reason to port it. We're still going to completely support the classic experience for the foreseeable future. And it actually let me know, and I'm not exactly sure myself how to harness this yet, but there is also a Copilot chat harness, which I always thought was built right into Copilot with Agent Builder, but maybe there's something in Copilot Studio that I just haven't figured out how to click into at this point. But anyway, all that is out there. Take advantage. I'm sure that's not news to anyone at this point. Another thing that I think is really cool, and I think I have mentioned this maybe, but we now have an article to refer back to, but Dataverse got a new security object. So for a while, we've been able to work with users and teams, whether they were an intra team that was a security group or an intra team that was an office group. And we could have even created our own bespoke teams right in Dataverse and give any of those things a security role. And then we had service principals and managed identities being able to be in there as kind of the machine to machine application users. But we now have another identity type called a agent user, which would be the identity that an agent itself uses when it's not working on behalf of a human to perform actions. And we want to be able to permission that agent user if it is doing things autonomously on its own with the appropriate permissions in Dataverse so that just in case it gets some wild idea that somebody gives it a new skill that we block its access to things we don't want it to be able to do from both a permission standpoint and a data access standpoint. So awesome that we have that capability now. Power Pages. I announced in the last show that we have a new enhanced authorization model that actually pushes that authorization down into the Dataverse native security mechanism. And this is just a really nice deep dive of how it does that with the contact to user management or user mapping, and how those permissions that you set when setting up your site become actually security roles with record filters and things in them, and sort of how a lot of this stuff actually works. And again, one of the major things that I think a lot of people should be super excited about is by making this change and making that mapping from a portal user into an actual user that's in the user table, that we now get auditing events in the audit log right as that portal user. So we know if something was changed by a portal user, exactly which user it was that did that change in our auditing. So great stuff. And if you want to know a little bit more, dig into some of the other topics that were covered in that auth deep dive, and auth being authorization in this case. The all up updates come out every once in a while, and a lot of this is Canvas app specific, or maybe even custom pages specific, depending on whether you're in the Canvas app or the model-driven app UI control area. But we've gotten several new controls. So the data grid modern control, and the toggle, and the checkbox, and the form control. And there are a couple of new Fluent templates that give you a great place to start, that are already responsive and already using a lot of the new modern controls. And a lot of that kind of stuff is just out there and ready to be used, along with a bunch more icons. So take advantage of that if you are a maker working in the Canvas App Studio or the Custom Page Studio. This next one I thought was fantastic. I wasn't aware of it until this article came out, but flow groups are a way to group flows together that are cloud flows that are solution aware. Those are kind of the caveats. Solution aware cloud flows. But if you put those into a flow group, you can now share the capacity of a single process license. If you buy a Power Automate per process license, that gives you 250,000 actions a day, way up from what a typical user license would have in any of our scenarios, that can then be shared across up to 25 of those cloud flows. So a way to share that capacity if you're not putting that license on a high volume one, just a specific one that needs to be run by a service principal or something like that. So fantastic new capability. All right. Next thing up, Dataverse prompt columns. They've been in preview for a long time. They are now generally available. So you've probably got lots of ideas of how you might take some text, wherever you're getting that text, whether it's a specific column, joining together a bunch of different other columns, looking at a whole nother record, and anyway, making a summary of what you're feeding it, and then saving that summary with its instructions as data in another column. And the beautiful thing about this is you define it, and then set up some rules of how you want it to get triggered for what your input columns are. And it will only run when one of those input columns has a data change, whether it's a create or an edit. And when that does happen, it will run, but it'll run asynchronously. So it doesn't slow any users down, but then the data will just ultimately show once the AI has run through whatever you put in the prompt column, and it's now available. So you've got all kinds of great ways to calculate things that you thought were important, and then once they're there as data, you can even use them in things like advanced find and form fill assistance for other records and other places like that. And in reporting, and maybe even in filtering data in other ways. That there's lots of uses you might have for these prompt columns, but now that they're GA, use them in production. I threw this link in here just because somebody took the time to try to maintain a link or a particular site that has all sorts of Power Platform resources of all kinds of different types: finding tools, administration, architecture guidance, how to build things, how to build skills. This is actually training type stuff, not skills like the given agent skills, but lots of different stuff in here. And if you click into one of these, then it's got a whole bunch of other detail with branches off to all sorts of other links. And on training and certification, you can see there's quite a little bit here. So anyway, take advantage if it's going to help you as a one-stop shop to all sorts of different resources out there, and use it if it helps. This particular one is not new features. This is just a great summary of what is there in Dataverse to govern and control your data. And I think it's a really nice list of what is driving consumption of all the storage that you're paying for, how to retain inactive data so you're not deleting it, you still need it, but you don't have to leave it in the active mode with the long-term data retention, and how to set those policies up. And having a recycle bin essentially for your Dataverse data, and making sure that you can make deleted things recoverable for up to 30 days, and get to see how you're setting your security up to make sure who can see certain data and who can change certain data, and all that kind of stuff is definitely a strength of Dataverse. How to look across all the various audits, and you can audit more than just data existence and data change, but you can audit user login, you can audit reads of records. There's all kinds of audits that you can have Dataverse doing that can help you understand what's happening in the platforms. And then to have these rules not just be for a single environment, but you can have these rules set up with some of the group management stuff we have in the managed environments to perform governance across a whole bunch of different environments all at the same time. So anyway, good guidance for how to think about Dataverse as one of your strategic assets holding your operational data. For those of you who are wanting to just kind of have a nice guided learning, hands-on learning kind of journey for learning the new GitHub Copilot harness, this Agent Academy has a next-gen recruit module that is all put together for giving you objectives and how to work through various steps to build something interesting and learn how to use the platform. So take advantage. If you are a Power Pages dev and you're used to working with Liquid, Liquid has been very powerful for a long time, but it was pretty static. You had what Liquid offered, and that was kind of all you got to do. We are now able to have Liquid tags right in the page actually call server-side logic that lives in Dataverse directly. So you can use those Liquid objects that call server-backed change to actually make updates in the platform. So take advantage of the new capability if you are one of those folks. This Analytics Hub is basically meant to help you understand how Copilot credits are being consumed across your entire enterprise. So it is one stop to either direct you to a pre-built place or to show you something that is kind of built in the context of this Analytics Hub to understand what's going on. And are these credits being consumed by Cowork, or are these credits being consumed by agents that have been built in Copilot Studio, or are these being consumed by other processes that are out there? So it just kind of gives you the insight into which people, which agents, which environments, what other tools out there are consuming your Copilot credits, so that you can either do a better job of governing that, or at least understand it and understand maybe even what value is coming out of it. So you can decide, you know what, we're getting enough value, I'm going to let that happen and just buy more if we need it, because this is a driver of better business. So anyway, all that good stuff is there if you want to use it out of that Analytics Hub. Copilot Studio Kit, been out for a while. The latest release just came out about a week ago, and they actually call it the Copilot Agent Kit in this new release. So if you click into it and you see Copilot Agent Kit, that's by design, so there's kind of changing the naming of it. But quite a few new capabilities, and I'm not going to hover over this and talk much about them, because the very next thing is the start of a blog series all about how to get the most value out of that Copilot Studio or Copilot Agent Kit. And in this blog, it goes even into a little bit more detail of what each of these parent features are that are part of the kit. and then how to install it. And you will see more blogs coming from MDRC about all of the various things in more detail that the Copilot Studio or Copilot Agent Kit does for you. One of the things I'm most excited about is the agent review tool has always been good, and it has been updated to make sure it understands how to handle agents of all three harness types and give you a lot of guidance on how to make those agents better or faster or whatever it is that you're trying to work on. I just thought I'd point people at a learn.microsoft.com article that I think is very relevant, especially between now and the 1st of September. So you still got a little over a week. But go look at all of your credit consumption in Power Platform. Understand which agents are out there that are consuming credits that you're not being billed for yet because they were built before the announcement came out that we were going to start charging people, because we did grandfather a whole bunch of stuff in. And so you should go understand what's happening to see if you need to set limits on agents, on environments, on whatever, for things that are consuming credits fairly heavily, but you haven't been charged for them yet because of how things have gone together. Because on September 1st, all of them in all states of the environments, as far as I know, will start billing for usage as of September 1st. So just good guidance on how to go through that exercise. If you use Link to Fabric, especially coming out of Dataverse on the Link for Fabric side, you can now turn on a feature called Change Data Feed. And if you flip that on, then you now get more change data landing in Fabric so that you can do advanced scenarios like time travel analytics and funnel analysis and auditing change over time, looking at the history of Dataverse record changes, not just the active value as of the moment. So I think that's a really nice enhancement to what's out there. So if that will help you in your reporting, flip it on. And then this last one on the Power Platform side is really just an announcement to try to make sure that if you are using Power Pages and you have not yet gone in to specifically call out for every table that you are exposing data from on your Power Page, you need to go make an edit if you haven't, because before, when you would set up Power Pages and you said, I want to expose data from a table, the web API fields in the portal management, when you're looking at that table stuff, would just put a wildcard to say, if you're exposing this table, it will just throw a wildcard in, and then the web API will spit out every column in that table, so that you could decide which columns you were going to display, and it would still spit them all out, but you could just pick from them. We are making a change to say wildcard values of the asterisk are no longer allowed in this configuration. So if you have this sitting out there on September 14th, if you have not made the change yet, your Power Page will just stop working, because we're going to get rid of that asterisk, and that'll mean the table will have no fields showing, so everything will just break. So you just need to go define which fields you're using in that API or web API column definition, so that it will expose only the columns you wanted it to, and that's just a good security best practice anyway. So just notification for those of you who are in that scenario. I've got 3 more that are more customer engagement focused, and I'll turn it over to you, Lauren. So the first one is we have made an enhancement to the Dynamics 365 service MCP out there. That is one of our SaaS fronted MCP servers that you can connect to Coworker, you can connect to Copilot, or you can connect to your coding agent, or you can connect to a custom agent like a Copilot Studio agent, or a agent that's built in Foundry, or whatever else. But it is meant to give you really rich, good insight into what's going on in the customer service module of Dynamics 365. So what's happening in case management and customer context and knowledge management and emails and activities related to cases and other support activities, intelligence, recommendations, the data itself, being able to search with intelligence, and other things that might need to be done for environment and administration tasks, that's all part of that MCP server. So take advantage in how you are working with the service functionality in agentic workloads. Next one is that if you are using the quality management agent for your customer service scenarios, governance is now generally available as one of the skills that that agent performs. So it goes and it looks at email attachments and emails, and you set policies up for how you want it to govern, of what you want to make sure it's not allowing out and things like that. It's sort of a way of data loss prevention if you want to look at it that way, but it's just letting you set policies up for things that either might be in an attachment or might be in the body of the email, and other places that you might end up with communications back to customers, to just manage the quality of those outputs and protect you from having things go awry in what your people are sending out. Last one is in workforce management. That one of the capabilities that we just released is the ability to set up shift rotation policies, so that you can say, I've got different groups of people and we have these different shifts, and I am going to set up a policy that basically says, well, these cohort of people are going to do the early shift on week 1, and these people are going to do the late shift on week 1, and so on and so forth. And then we're going to shift it, and cohort A is going to move to late on week 2, and cohort A is going to be moving to the peak on week 3, or whatever else. That you can figure out however you want to do it, but it will automate all of the stuff because you just set up a rotation cadence and cohorts of people and slots per policy that you set up, and let the machine set up all of your shifts and when people are scheduled to work, so that that's not such a manual overhead bearing task that you have to work with all the time in managing all that stuff. So with that, that's all I've got for Power Platform and CE for this month period. Lauren, take it away for everything in the rest of the Dynamics
All
stack.
right. Quite a bit of updates there.
Always.
All right, let's see. All right, first off, in e-commerce, sorry about that. Let me get situated. So we've got some modernization to the e-commerce platform coming out in GA September. So the first thing is OBO. So on behalf of support in Microsoft Entra External ID, which lets you keep sales-assisted ordering running smoothly, removes what's now really a major hurdle to moving away from Azure Active Directory B2C, which is reaching end of sale. So as Azure AD B2C reaches this end of sale and new customer onboarding moves to Entra External ID, the absence of OBO support can really become a challenge. So this supports those organizations that are adopting Entra External ID by providing OBO ordering capabilities that align with the existing B2B commerce requirements. We also have, let's see, the modernization around updated support for Node.js 22 as well. So customers will get a more future-ready foundation that really makes building and extending your commerce experiences faster and more reliable with this. Then next, I've got a few links, actually quite a few links around Project Ops. Just to load here. All right, so coming into GA in December is the ability to use time zone agnostic fields in project planning. This really helps you avoid time zone headaches when managing project schedules. Project and project tasks start and end times are going to be saved in date time format. And the system will convert these times to GMT before actually saving them. And when the product displays these times, it'll convert them back to the user's time zone. However, some integrations and customizations pull only the date from this field. And this approach has caused problems when the conversion actually changes the date. So to prevent this, now this feature allows you to create new fields on the entity to store the start and end date and values without actually converting them to GMT. And you can confidently pull only the date without worrying about time zone conversions, causing that date to change. Then next, let me scroll down here. Coming to GA in October 2026 is the ability to update key project fields using copy project. So copying project has always been possible, but the current process limits the ability to change some really critical details. The new experience allows users to now update essential fields while actually duplicating a project. So it gives a lot greater controls there to align with your business needs as well. So it's a shift from today where when you select copy project, the system creates a project, copies everything from the source project to the newly created project, which doesn't allow you to update fields like the contracting unit, the owning company. So when this new feature is enabled, you can use the new unified copy project experience, copy that project to a new project, and to an existing empty project, and select that project as the target during the copy process, and then specify those really important attributes like the contracting unit, the owning company, etc. Then coming to GA also in October is the ability to import tasks into a project from other projects. So it's designed for teams using Project Ops who really want to speed up that setup without starting from scratch. So you can bring tasks from existing projects or templates into your current WBS and keep what works and avoid unnecessary duplication there. And then let's see. Coming to GA in October is also the ability to import projects in MPP files into existing projects. This allows you to choose to import the MPP file into either a new project or an existing project, update key project attributes like the ones we just talked about directly within the import experience, and then know that the project's imported based on the selected import option and configured settings. Then also coming to GA in October is the ability to copy externally scheduled projects. So a lot of stuff around copying here. If you currently work with external scheduling tools, you can now skip the hassle of starting over. This new feature lets you copy those projects directly into Dataverse. Previously, the copy project capability was available only for the web scheduled projects. Customers using externally scheduled projects had to manually recreate project structures, configurations, and related data when creating new project templates. So now you can copy them, and this is supported for externally scheduled projects. And then also coming into public preview in September is unifying product receipt and item requirement posting. So when PO receipts and linked project item requirements post separately, a failure often leaves things like inventory and project consumption out of sync. So what this feature does is post a PO product receipt and the consumption of its linked project item requirements in one single transaction, and applies when automatic item consumption is enabled or when you select consume immediately while posting the product receipt. So the system really rolls them back when an error occurs, and then posting flow prevents duplicate project posting, preserves the existing behavior for batch posting and cancellation or any sort of correction flows. Then let's see. Still got a couple more here. So coming to GA in September is the ability to assign task level schedule mode for precise planning. So with traditional scheduling, you're stuck using one mode for the entire project, even when tasks have different needs. This really adds extra work. It leads to plans that don't match reality. So task level schedule mode changes that, where you can pick the right mode for each task, no matter what the project default is. And then coming to public preview also in September is the ability to archive project cost actuals with long-term retention. So process project actuals can accumulate millions of staging records in integrated environments, which really increases your database size, and it makes routine maintenance a lot more difficult. So this feature lets administrators move eligible cost actuals into Dataverse long-term retention while keeping those historical records available for inquiry or restoration. You can control that storage growth, reduce the cost of retaining all of that inactive data, and avoid building a custom archive process. Then coming to GA in September is the ability to apply line discounts and fees on contract lines, which lets users easily manage discounts and fees for resource-based deployments. This really helps keep pricing accurate and transparent. And by automating these, you're going to save time on things like your project quotes, your contracts, your invoices, and also reducing errors there as well. And you can also apply discounts to agreements or add extra charges like administrative fees as well. Then I've got a couple more here. Next in finance, coming to GA in September is the ability to detect corruption in source document budget control tracking. So this helps identify budget control tracking corruption before actually running repair activities. So by highlighting budget control documents affected by orphan tracking records or broken relieving relationships, the diagnostic gives users clear starting points for analysis and remediation, and teams can validate the scope of impacted documents, reduce that tedious investigation there, and use existing budget control data maintenance tools more confidently to repair those detected issues. Then coming to GA in September, also in finance, is improved performance for bridge transaction selection during the bank clearance process. This improves the efficiency of selecting and loading bridge transactions during that bank clearance process by introducing optimized filtering and transaction retrieval logic. So instead of loading all available bridge transactions, users can actually define criteria such as bank account, vendor, customer account, payment reference, check number, and the date range before those transactions are actually received. And then very last but not least here is coming to GA in March around procurement. There is a new supplier engagement app where procurement users can manage supplier relationships for all legal entities from one workspace. They can view things like supplier performance, schedule appointments, manage a lot of other aspects of their supplier relationship. And a new supplier portal via Power Pages gives suppliers a better experience when onboarding and engaging with procurement teams. And the portal supports collaboration throughout the relationship during things like RFQs, POs, and invoicing. And this app is a Power Apps experience that integrates with D365 supply chain and finance. So Bart's still here. That's all I've got for today.
Awesome. Well, there were quite a few updates in there as well. So lots going on in the platforms.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I hope you have a great weekend and enjoy the last little bit of summer before it starts cooling down, hopefully, for you down there in Houston.
Yep.
And I hope everyone else got good use of this content. I will make sure and get it posted to our website by the end of the day, and we will see everyone in a fortnight.
All right. Thanks, Bart.